Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of the Blues News podcast. Today I'm here with John Watson, member of Cosu and part owner of Southend. Firstly, John, how are you?
Good morning, Finn. Very well, thank you. Looking forward to this morning.
Yep, perfect. So I think we'll get straight into it, to be honest. So first of all, I'd like to talk a little bit. If you could just tell us a bit about your background and how you came to love Southend, that'd be great.
Oh wow, how long have we got? I mean, to start with, my background is, I guess, I've lived in Southend all of my life, so naturally I'm going to be a Southend United supporter. I grew up in the South Church area, so kind of 10 minutes from the ground, unlike our adopted Australian friend who was probably, 10,000 miles from the ground.
Yeah.
I really am at the other end of the spectrum. So I'm kind of 59 years old, 60 next year, but to be honest, I'm counting back now. I always find that creative accounting. And like a lot of guys, when I grew up, we always, we supported a first division team, as we called it then. The Premiership wasn't about. And we always supported our local team. So obviously my local team was Southend. My guilty secret is I'm also an Arsenal supporter. But I will declare my first love is without question Southend. If ever they played, which they've never played, I certainly will be in the away end watching rooting for Southend United.
Yeah.
So kind of my parents never really into football, and when I was growing up, there was a lot of football hooligans around, so they'd never ever let me go to London to watch a match. And it was typical, really, of guys my age. So we did migrate very much to Southend United. Probably from I suppose my early recollections were really 75 to the end of that decade. Don't really recall my first game. I think it was about 75, but I remember it was in the East End, and I remember the vision of walking up those stairs and thinking, wow. I'd never seen a football pitch before. I didn't realise how large it was, to be quite frank. And I was kind of hooked from that moment. But I can't actually remember the score or the game. I was far too young. So really, I've always since that age, I've always followed Southend. I would say I've certainly been every single season. I've never had kind of a lapse of 2 or 3 seasons where I've been disillusioned. Of course, there's seasons where I've probably been 15 plus away games, and there's seasons when I've not done an away game. So a typical journey, but I've never ever lost my love for the club. And I've sat in my current seat for 40 years this year.
Wow. So
I've been there a long time, been a season ticket holder for all of those 40 years as well. But I've migrated around the ground. In the early days, I can't say I was in the North Bank. I used to go every now and then, but I didn't really like it. It was probably a bit too rough for me, if I'm honest. I probably started life as a West Side shuffler before, when we used to shuffle up and down before the seats were put in. That was good. But my favourite place in the ground was the South Bank when it was open ended. I think it held about 15,000. In total. Obviously, we used to get about 500 in there as an average game, but it reminded me so much of a proper first division stadium, a massive bank, and it was there that I actually felt most comfortablest, if I'm completely honest with you. Perfect. So that's my early recollections.
Do you have some favourite memories and players over the years?
Favourite memories? Yeah, definitely. I mean, favourite, I know everybody would probably say Manchester United, Liverpool, and of course, they were great memories. But favourite memories for me, I kind of remember, favourite game would definitely be the second round FA Cup replay just before the Liverpool game, where we played Watford. So we draw with Watford. I didn't go to the away game. Mum and Dad still wouldn't let me go to London. So we had the return leg at Routs Hall, I think, on the Wednesday night. But of course, the draw had already been made for the third round. So we knew we'd got Liverpool. And this was Liverpool, European champions, Dalglish, Emlyn Hughes, Ray Clements, just the iconic heroes that dominated the first division. And by the way, we absolutely knew they would be bringing their full strength team down to Routs Hall. there'd be none of this playing the second 11, and they was there to win it. The FA Cup was just really up there with the European Cup, with the league title in those days. So we had Watford at home of 15,000. I was in the West Side that night, and I think a guy called 𝗵𝗲𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗪 scored our goal in the first half. And I'll never forget, I can see myself sitting in that West Side, looking up at those floodlights, just praying for those minutes to tick by. It was an eternity. And of course they did. And the rest was history. We was through, and we played the mighty Liverpool. So I have to say that probably was my most favourite recollection of a game, because it meant so much. I mean, the Liverpool game was amazing, but it meant so much that they was coming down to Roots Hall. And it was just that's probably my favourite game. Favourite team, probably the 4th Division title winner team again in 81, because for me I was still quite young. We'd never won anything at that point, and it was an unbelievable season. Watched it from the South Bank the whole season. Was brilliant. We was nip and tuck with Lincoln City. I'll never forget it, right until the last game. And I think they came. The best memory for me was they came down with about 4 or 5 games to go, Lincoln, and it wasn't nip and tuck. The two of us had walked the league that season. Still 2 points for a win as well, so it wasn't the 3 point scenario. And they bought, I can't remember the numbers, but I remember they bought a lot of fans down with them in the South Bank, in my stand, and they took it over, to be honest with you. And we drew 0-0 or 1-1. I remember it was a draw. I remember feeling quite disappointed at the end, but of course it all came good. And yeah, that was winning the 4th Division title and winning a trophy was probably one of the best seasons for me. I know we've been in the championships. I know we've done amazing things, but I think maybe because I was a bit younger then, those memories would, they just stuck a little bit more.
Not much beats winning a trophy. I wouldn't mind another trophy at Roots Hall soon.
It will be soon. It won't be long.
So we've spoken a bit about your background and a bit about how you came to love Southend, and I would like to talk a little bit about your involvement in Cosu. So how did you first get to be involved in Cosu?
Well, it came from a phone call from Justin. Mm-hmm. He just literally phoned me out the blue and said, "Hey, I'm looking to buy the club. Do you want to buy it with me?" And I thought, well, what a raving lunatic. He's obviously an Australian, so doesn't really understand how it works here in England. And I said, yeah, of course, come and talk to me. So he came down to my factory in Shrewsbury with Tom Lawrence. Tom Lawrence did the introduction. And yeah, I kind of fell in love with him then, if I'm honest with you. I mean, he is bonkers. I've got to say, he's absolutely mad at times. And make no mistake, there's 10 of us in Cosu, but he was our inspiration. He's our leader. He's the glue that kept us together in the dark journey, in the dark times. And yeah, I mean, and again, Finn, I'll be honest with you, when he came down and told me the dire position we was in, of course I knew it was dire, but I wasn't privy to any of the real financial information. Yeah. And I guess as a fan, I always thought, it's going to be okay. Someone's going to come along. It's never going to go out of business. It's been here for over 100 years. That just doesn't happen. And I think the reality set in at that point when you know too much information. You do appreciate how perilous the position was and how close to that cliff edge we actually was. Yeah. However, when I was out, Finn, I was out right from the start, and I've said this before. I said, Justin, it's not for me. It's just, there's so much debt. We're losing it's no secret we're losing £2 million a year. I love the club, and I don't think I can be part of it. And I don't understand, why you would want to do it. And the final words was, I said, how many guys we got so far? He said, what, including you? I said, well, I'm out. He said, well, at the moment, just me. He said, I'll put you down as a maybe and I'll come back to you. And that was what he was like. And he went on his crusade. Yeah. And he rallied round all the local guys. And yeah, just did an amazing job, and he's bonkers, but he's quite inspiring as well. To be fair.
Yeah, well, I think it's just amazing how somebody, obviously an Australian who, before he saw it, I think he said he saw it on the BBC Essex, and I just think it's amazing how he can have so much passion for a club that really he doesn't know until like a year ago or whenever he found out, he didn't know too much about. So it's amazing that he has so much passion already.
But it is, and to be honest with you, I grilled him quite hard about this point because I didn't really get it. Yeah. I didn't understand it, and he's passionate about football. I mean, he's Australian. If you ask him about cricket, he hasn't got a clue. If you ask about any other sport, he hasn't got a clue. He has one love, football.
Wow.
Yeah. That's his only sport. He has one love, football. If you ask him how great the Australians were at cricket, he just, I don't care. There's no interest. So he's passionate. So that's the first thing, is his passion for the game. The second thing was he also had this passion that he's conveyed to Cosu. For him, the journey was very much that he wanted, we needed to save the club. He didn't really want to be part of any Phoenix club because he felt that we'd have lost the history. Yeah. We'd have lost our DNA. And I know, I'm not saying a Phoenix club wouldn't have been something I wouldn't have supported, because I probably would, if I'm honest. But for him, it wasn't the same. It was about, it was about an old English league club. I know we're NFL, but we're, as far as he's concerned, and it was an English league club, a dynasty that's been there since 1906, and that was what it was about. It wasn't about trying to find a cheap way of clearing debt and starting a Phoenix club, and he wanted to continue the legacy and the history. And that's, for me, that's then what I realised he was in it for, what he was in it for.
So you spoke a little bit about, obviously, the dark times, and you spoke about the possibility of creating a Phoenix club. This was a question that I asked Jason Brown and also 𝗪𝗏, and I think it's an interesting one to ask different people and see their different views on it. Was there ever a time you thought Southend wouldn't be a club anymore and a Phoenix club being set up was a real possibility?
Well, before Justin made the call to me, I, as purely a fan with limited knowledge, I never thought a Phoenix club would ever be a possibility, because I always thought somebody somewhere would come and it would be okay.
Yeah.
Once I joined the Cosu band, and it was privy to the information and the negotiations, and I saw how close to that cliff edge we was. Yeah, there was points along that 9-month journey where I thought we might not make it, and I actually thought that, wished I was just a fan again, because I knew too much information. We really was at a cliff edge. We went further than we wanted to go from the start.
Yeah.
When we all got together back in October and we signed our heads of terms, we had our vision. Of course, the vision always changes, but our vision wasn't for it to take 10 months to get over the line and to invest for 10 months without effectively, just money invested down the drain for us, because if it had gone wrong, we'd have lost every single penny of it. Yeah. I think, in a way, I think it's good we didn't know all that at the start, because I don't think we'd have all jumped. I don't think we would have been. We're not all that mad. Yeah. Some of us are quite sane. So yes, I did think along that journey there was a couple of times when we really was on the cliff edge, and it was touch and go sometimes. But again, that's when the strength of 10 of us is great, is great, because, we all supported each other. We, when there was doubts, we, collectively, we came together, and there was always a will with Cosu. And by the way, Cosu, that was something that came, evolved right from the start, our identity, custodians of Southend, and that meant so much to me and all of us, our jobs. Why are we doing this, we are doing this for the long term benefit, legacy of the club, and we do see ourselves as we generally see ourselves as custodians.
Well, you said about how as a fan, coming into this, you didn't really realise how close it was, and I think that's so true, because personally as a fan, and I know a lot of other fans, really just we knew the situation was bad, but I think the whole point and the reason that I love doing these sort of interviews with people is to find out how close were we really to not being a club anymore. And I think when you say about how close we really were, it's interesting because as a fan, you see and other things happen and it looks like a bad situation, but you never really realise how close it is. And yeah, so obviously you've spoken a lot about how dark times and things, but now I'd like to talk about potentially good times. So what developments at Southend are you looking forward to the most?
For me personally,
Yep.
Sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
I understand facilities they're all linked, by the way, Finn. But I understand fan engagement, facilities, match day experience, promotions, trophies. Of course, that's all. Of course, that's a dream. But for me, none of them are possible without the most important pillar, which is sustainability.
Yeah.
And I believe we can get to the Holy Land. I generally believe we can get there. We've got a plan. We've got a good business plan. Between the 10 of us, we're absolutely, we've got so many different skill sets that we bring to the table. Sometimes complications because we have different opinions, and which again is great. Yeah. Which is great. But sustainability is, for me, I probably shouldn't be saying this, probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most, because I know that we're going to be. I know that what the legacy we're going to leave. Even if we don't win a trophy, and please, we're going to win trophies. I know we are. We're going to win promotions. I'm super confident. But even if that didn't happen, okay, and I look back, I look back in 100 years when I'm looking down at my grandchildren and their children who are at Southend, that will mean more to me than whatever level we play at. It will. The fact that our legacy will be there, and I played a very small part in that. That'd probably be my proudest part, and then the bit I'm looking forward to more than anything.
Well, I mean, the next thing I want to talk about, maybe a hard question, but if you could give a little bit of insight on it, it'd be great. So, where do you see Southend in a year's time, and then where do you see them in 5 years' time?
Okay, so you got to remember, I'm a fan.
Yep.
So I'm blinkered.
Yeah,
I think we've got the best management team out there. I think we've got the best team out there, and I kind of feel we're going to win. I think we're going to win every game 3-0, even in relegation seasons.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you my answer, but I wouldn't be running down to bookies to back it because it's very, very clouded. I think we're going to have a huge push for. I think we're going to have a huge push for the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
So, and I think we'll get through, and I think we'll get to Wembley. I think we'll win it. Okay, so in a year's time, where I think we're going to be promoted.
Yeah.
Where do I see us in 5 years' time? Again, this is a fan's view. I see us being promoted 5 years running, because that's just what I dream about. That's what I dream about. So why not? I mean, can we win the World Cup? I'm not sure, but if we can enter it, I think we can win that as well. So my views are very cloudy because I always think we're going to win. I just always think we're going to win.
Yeah.
I never want to go to a match thinking we're not going to win. So So that's what I see, winning the World Cup in 5 years' time.
Winning the World Cup, that's a headline. Southend win the World Cup. So I don't want to keep for too much longer. I've got a couple more things to talk about. So we've spoken about it a little bit, but I think one of the most important things for, fans especially, is they want to know, is there going to be plans moving forward to improve fan involvement in the club?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I spoke about sustainability as pillars. I call them pillars. So, we have a number of pillars that create the foundations of the club. Sustainability, obviously, is one of the pillars.
Yep.
To answer your question, fan engagement is a massive pillar for us. And, we've reported previously, but we are one part of the fan engagement is the Fans Advisory Board.
Yeah.
And we're not just going to launch it and say there's a Fans Advisory Board, and we want it to have meaning, we want it to have teeth, we want it to have governance, we want it to be a voice direct into our board.
Yeah. And
we've been doing quite a lot of work in the background, setting that up, and we're close to launch. We're not far away from launch, and of course once we launch, there's going to be a journey of learning.
Yeah.
We'll get the structure. We'll get some bits right. We'll get some bits wrong. We'll learn from the bits that are wrong, and we'll make them better. But where the vision for that fan engagement is for Cosu is that they will have an active voice. They'll have a charter.
Yeah.
They will have an active voice, and that will feed directly back into the main board. And most importantly, everything that feeds back into the main board will be addressed. Not always positively. Sometimes it might be, no, that's not right. That doesn't suit. We can't afford it. We don't like it. Whatever. Yeah. But everything will be qualified as to why. Now, if I step back as a fan, in my 40 years there, I've been frustrated, like all fans are. Sometimes fairly, sometimes unfairly. My frustrations, but I've never been able to get answers to some of the questions that I'd like to know. And the fans advisory board will be that platform, will be that vehicle where I as a fan then could through whatever channel, and there'll be numerous channels, can get my questions in there. And if the fans advisory board feel that they're valid and that it needs taking forward, of course they'll package that up.
Yeah.
And they'll take that forward to the board. So I believe as a fan, I will have direct access through the correct channels to the board. And once those questions have been asked of the board, they will be addressed and qualified. And as a fan, that's all I want. I just want to know the reason why. And if it might not be the answer I want, but if I know the reason why, then I don't see I can be that as frustrated as when I've never had a voice there.
Yeah.
So yeah, fan engagement is huge, and it doesn't just sit with the fans advisory board.
Yeah.
That's one aspect of it. Fan engagement, we want to understand fans' match day experiences. We want to understand how the corporate fans feel about their corporate facilities, how the away fans feel about how they're being treated, how whether the home fans like the beer, hate the beer, like the wagon wheels, want to swap it to Mars bars, and there is an evil plot. There is an evil plot behind that as well, because we know if the fan engagement experience is good, you're gonna come and you're gonna spend more money, and it all cycles back to my sustainability.
Yep.
So yeah, fan engagement huge. Facilities again, another massive pillar for us. We've got plans, and we was looking at our capital expenditure over the weekend, funnily enough, and we've got to phase it through over 5 years, and we're just trying to get our priorities right, which comes first. So yeah, we're working on all of that at the moment, but lots of facility changes are going to happen. Lots of development's going to happen, and it all links, the whole thing, fan engagement, facilities, food and beverage, it all links back into sustainability.
Yeah.
And my final point, because I'm waffling a little bit now, I know, but
no.
what you got to remember with the sustainability is that there is no for Cosu, there's no alternative motive here other than to make a sustainable football club that's going to be around for 1,000 years, not the 100 years we've had, 1,000 years. And literally everything that we as fans, contribute to the club via our season tickets, which, by the way, just got to have a quick call out on that. How amazing does our season tickets sound?
Yeah.
I mean,
already,
the call-ins come and they're backing us. They're backing Southend and Cosu just in their thousands by coming, and it's just, for us, Cosu is an honour. It's an absolute honour to see those numbers come in. You believe it. You believe it now. We're putting your hand in your wallet and paying. It's amazing. So there is no alternative motive here for us than every single thing we can. That we can collectively, from the whole fan base, spend our money on. If it's a revenue stream that goes back into the club, it's just that. It goes back into the club. It's plain and simple.
Yeah. What you said about season tickets, a lot of people watching this won't know this, but I actually live in Kent, and even I've renewed my season ticket this season. So,
good for you.
So I'll be making the 3-hour round trip without traffic every weekend. So yeah. You spoke about the fan advisory board. Obviously, I don't want to keep you too long, but just one thing on that. how will sort of the process, I don't know how much you can talk about it really, but do you know yet, sort of, will it be like an election sort of process, or will you reach out to fans directly, or will they sort of apply, or how will that work, the fan advisory board?
So we're at the moment we're just we're in the process of deciding the charter of how that's best going to work. So we're taking some advice on it. We're chucking it around a little bit. As I said, it's not quite ready to launch yet, but it won't be long. And we haven't quite understood exactly the best way. We've got 2 or 3 different options of kind of an election process, selection process, which different, how diverse it's going to be. And we want to cover all of those things. And we want to get it absolutely right. And that's why we're chewing the fat on it at the moment. So we're not quite there with the charter. So I honestly can't give the answer. The election's going to be X, Y, and Z, because it's part and parcel of what we're developing at the moment. But it's a hugely important part of the charter, of the election to the Fans Advisory Board, and what they represent and where they come from, and how the ongoing process works. Because we may have there may be an election, for example, and we may be elected, but we don't want to become dictators where there's never another election for every 2 decades. So all of that is part of the charter, and all of that we've had numerous discussions about. But we want to get that absolutely right, because we see it's crucial. Our fan base, wherever that fan base is, whether you're just somebody that comes to 2 matches a year and stands somewhere, or whether you're somebody that's been a season ticket holder for 100 years, or whether you're a corporate fan that spends £100,000 a year on sponsorship, to us, all equal, all entitled to a voice. We just got to work out exactly how the best platform and vehicle for that to work is, but it will be there. And if it doesn't work, it will be flexible. And we'll twist and we'll turn and we'll change. But there will be a voice direct into our board. That's the thing.
Lastly, there's one short, tiny question, and it's always a fun one, and I ask everybody. John, who should I Q&A next?
Who should you Q&A next? Really good question. I think Gary Lockett. Because Gary he's actually the only member of the consortium that I knew.
All right.
Pre-Justin, apart from Tom Lawrence, obviously. He was the only member of the consortium I knew. And, Gary really is our ultra fan. He has no love for any other club whatsoever. He is the Cosu member that will be home and away regardless. He'll on his own. He'll travel on his own. He'll drive on his own. So he really is our Southend United ultra Cosu member in terms of fan. So Gary Lockett, you're next, Gary.
Perfect. Thank you, John. This has been great. That's all for today. So if you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe again. Thank you very much, John, and I'll see you on the next one.